My name is Kali, my pronouns are them, and welcome to another installment of my writing blog, which is soon starting into another proper season. And this time around, I think what I want to do is do an editing blog. I have quite a few um, manuscripts that I've sort of first draft that I finished. I never really, I basically put them aside because I need a bit of distance from them, but never really picked them back up. And now there are a few of them, and I'm starting to get a bit panicky about it. So this is something that I need to address. And I've just promised my chief beta reader something for end of March. So a deadline can be motivational. So that's how I'm sort of seeing it. That's how I'm treating it. So this makes me plan a bit ahead for the future. Um, March is also where like my big next like the next big release is going to be everything the sun touches, which is the first part of a duology. It's available to pre-order on Amazon for a Kindle edition. It's going to be in the Kindle Unlimited program at least for a while, and then I will probably take it back and publish it wide. But yeah, for sort of maybe this year, it's going to be in Kindle Unlimited. If you would like to pre-order or basically save it for the day it arrives, that would be amazing. It's sort of a twist on Marriage of Convenience, but we're sort of two people who find their way, and they need to be sure first. So they become friends first before they get married. And the first volume is sort of everything towards the marriage, the wedding day, and then the next volume is going to be how they're dealing with everything, and um, yeah, how difficult it is to do it. That's sort of the very rough premise of this duology. And of course, they have like some magic, and their magic is basically a sort of collaborative magic that basically they only can do it together. That's sort of um, the gist of it. I'm very excited for it. I'm planning a few book events for it. One in my local library, which has been confirmed. So I've asked them to let me know when sort of promotional materials are ready. But until then, there's still some time to, yeah, just get something else off the ground. The first bit of news is that I actually finished my recent manuscript, The Girl from the World. It's so there's space for 25 chapters in it. I finished it in 23 plus a little epilogue, which is not bad going. Um, so now this will move aside and be left alone for a while. And the one that I want to pick up is the Sealskin Throne, the one that I wrote um, after my holiday on the Isle of Skye in Scotland, where I saw some seals in the wild and thought, okay, it's probably time to write a Selkie story then. Um, so yeah, this is not a big project. This is like two books of 120 pages each. So actually, see, this also has 23 chapters and an epilogue. Um, and basically, what I'm doing is I'm checking the time because I used to be really bad at that, especially if you leave your manuscript alone for a few days and you have no ideas like which season you're in, and suddenly it's spring. Um, so I'm basically tracking the dates and how many days are um, going by since the beginning of the story. This has been such a helpful tip. I don't know where I picked it up. I think I saw it on Threads or Instagram. Someone said, "Oh, are you tracking your dates when you write?" And I thought, "Oh my God, I've never done that." And this is actually one of the biggest continuity things. It's one of the reasons why what I like to do is usually when I start a manuscript, I start the story on the same day basis. Let's say 17th of July, then the story will also start on the 17th of July when I start to write on that day. Um, but obviously, it does not work for every story. Some are like specific stories to their season, um, but it's usually that I start writing a book in the same season that it's set in. But yeah, checking your dates is amazing. It's like if there's one tip I can give you, tips and tricks, checking your dates. So yes, so that probably means that this is going to be roughly the same length. Um, I'd say about 40 to 50,000 words. So short novel, which is great for sort of short standalones. That's what I'm concentrating on at the moment. And this is going to be the next one. So what I will probably do, it's going to be an editing slash writing vlog because editing alone is a bit meh. It's not very. It's so frustrating sometimes, especially if the question that I put to myself all the time is, "What did you write here?" Sometimes it's just a snarl of strokes. And obviously, this comes about because my hand needs to keep up with my head, and that doesn't always work. My handwriting is famously bad. Well, not bad, but it's sort of very economical, let's say. Um, it has formed into something that I can write as fast as possible. And obviously, that's not always accessible for everyone, and sometimes not even for me. But I've sort of trying to look at this as sort of now I need to really sit down and think what word is meant here. Is there maybe a better one if I can't immediately? Usually, after a while, my brain will kick in and say, "Of course, this from context that makes sense." But sometimes the sort of the process of thinking about it will come up with almost like a better solution. So I'm not mad about it. It can be a bit frustrating. So probably also why I'm trying to concentrate on shorter stuff at the moment. The duology, the second volume, is, is going to copy editing around February time, and I've managed to cut it down by a large amount, but it used to be such a monster. Um, yeah, I mean that was. I remember I've basically every day I sat down and write, even after work when I came from the office, would get some groceries and then go to a cafe that was open late and would still write 2 hours. And I've since realized that's too much. I no. It's obviously it's also more expensive because then I'm sort of spending at work. I have coffee and then also then um, getting something special because you don't want to have another coffee in the evening. So yeah, at the moment I'm not doing that, but I might come to that again if I want to finish up a project. Um, but I was quite amazed by how just almost gentle this was. Although the story is not that gentle, but just to sit down whenever I can and write, no pressure, it's just something to do. And I really enjoyed that, so I want this back. And I think the next one is going to, so same premise. This is basically the same as this, just another color. So 25 chapters. And what I want to do is set this in a time that would be comparable with sort of Jane Austen time. Um, Obviously, with sort of other bits, sort of it's alternative, and obviously not in our world, but somewhere else. But sort of industrial revolution ish. Um, in basically one of the cities that plays a major role in my Slow Moon series, but is now basically fallen under the shadow of more successful cities. It has shot itself in the foot by putting lots of rules on trade, for example, and so it's been sort of gliding into obscurity. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do that is the town or the city that I um, went to study in has sort of a similar thing where it was very, very important in the Middle Ages, like a center of learning and university. And then I don't know if it actually was there a university, but sort of a center of learning and sort of like from the like all the clerics and or the like the cathedral there was sort of a like a beacon of light basically in the north. And nowadays it's often seen by people who come to study there as a bit provincial and not as important and overshadowed by larger cities around it. And so I think that always was in the back of my head that I wanted to write like how this feels like a city that was once really influential and important and is now sort of declining almost, but it still has some sort of pride, um, but maybe a bit misplaced. And I want to then put magic into the mix. So in my sort of world, I've talked about this many times, there are sort of waxing and waning times of magic. And I think what is happening is that the magic is starting up again and is causing havoc. And because there have been um, other magical ages, there is quite a bit of documentation, but nobody knows what to do with it, and so they need to learn from books. Um, a bit like Doctor Strange and Mr. Norrell. Was it the other way around? I'm not quite sure, but yeah, by Susanna Clark, where sort of I think it's also roughly the same age, and magic is a very academic thing and not quite as that. It's not that established, but they're sort of remnants of another age, and they um, and stuff happens that sort of kickstarts another. Maybe it's not such a gradual process than before, but just boom, and suddenly magic is back again. So that's sort of what I'm thinking about, because I always wanted to have like a large span of the history before me, and then just illustrate and illuminate um, like various years, various decades in that history. There are families that have been living there for a long time, others that have newly joined, um, and and it's usually you don't need to know all that. It's just if you know it, it's sort of an extra Easter egg, or it gives like an even more like a rounder understanding of what the world is like. Um, so I think I have a few colors, but I think this is nice for spring. This is the other ones are sort of grey and a sage, and I think I want something bright. I think this is color is called rising, yes, rising sun. And I think for now we're sort of the days are slowly getting longer. I think that's a good one to do that with. So I think I have my first sentence. That's usually how it starts. Um, and I've been sort of collecting ideas and how the feel of it, what I've been telling you just now. I think that's what we're going to go with. And yeah, that's the writing side of it, and then the editing side. This is going to be interesting because I think I said that before. So, I mean, I must have, because I talked about that. This was basically the manuscript that I wrote in season 2 of the blog, where, yeah, it started with an idea that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. That usually is not how it happens for me. So it had quite a firm framework work around it when I started, and then I filled in the bits. And the next one, this one, is way more discovery writing again. Um, this one was more discovery writing too, and I think that's just why I felt so comfortable. Um, but weirdly, I was able to basically pull it all around, and it does not. I don't have some. Usually, I have like one part of the book where I think, oh, that's not great. I need to go back and do a lot to it. That might be when I actually pick it back up and read back on it, then I might think, oh, okay. But usually it's more like one part. I think, oh, I went a bit too fast here, or I had to write myself out of a corner here. So obviously this part needs looking at and tightening and rejigging. Um, so it's going to be interesting how this feels when I'm at the point. So this is what we're doing next. So I'm probably going to do like a new intro and a new color scheme for it. So, but I'm going to play around with this a bit. In between bits, you'll see sort of my fun pen content and my ink content, and it all plays together because that's going to be the colors that are going to be in here. Um, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be really fun. Yeah. So thank you so much. If you interested to follow along, please subscribe. You know what to do. Give me a thumbs up. And if you want to sample my writing because you're not quite sure, if you want to check out the newer releases, the first volume of my Soul Moon series is basically available as a free sign-up gift. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, the link is in the description box below. I'm going to send you a download link to an IPFAB file that you can very risk-free have and look through and see if that works for you. I'm very aware that my style does not work for everyone, but you might be one of those. Um, Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.